Good evening. Many thanks for joining us on Politics HQ. These are the stories that made our headlines. Let's start by telling you that as Nigerian workers commemorate May Day amidst economic hardship, NLC President Joe Ajaero has criticized the proposed 70,000 naira minimum wage as insufficient to sustain workers under soaring inflation, transportation cost and rent. Speaking in Abuja, Ajaero revealed that inflation, now at 24%, has eroded real wages by 25%, forcing public workers to ration work days to survive. Echoing these concerns, the former TUC Deputy National President, Dr. Tommy Okon, highlighted persistent poverty amongst workers despite economic reforms, while the NLC Deputy General Secretary, Chris Onyeka, warned of a growing population of the working poor. Lagos NLC Chairperson Fumi Sesi urged leaders to act swiftly to alleviate the hardship. In a separate May Day address at Eagle Square, the NLC President called for extending the retirement age to 65 or 40 years of service for all civil servants, emphasizing Labour broader demand for equity, economic justice and urgent reforms in Nigeria's failing socio-economic structure. Let's also tell you that the Joint Task Force, that's JTF, Northeast Operation had in Kai, has dispelled concerns over the late-night explosion reported at an ammunition depot on April 30th. Theatre Commander Major General Abdullahi confirmed that the incident was not a terror-related attack, but was triggered by extreme regional temperatures. Speaking in a televised broadcast, General Abdullahi dismissed speculation of a coordinated strike, emphasizing that the explosion, which occurred around 11:30 p.m., was swiftly contained through efforts by military and civilian fire services. He reassured the public that no casualty or injuries were recorded and that emergency responses protocols were activated immediately to limit damage. The clarification comes amidst heightened tension and widespread speculation, reinforcing the importance of accurate reporting and coordinated communication during national security incidents. However, our focus tonight: how mass defections expose Nigeria's weak political structure. I'll be speaking with Dr. Sam Amadi, as the director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. I'll also be speaking with Dr. Auwal Abdullahi Aliyu, the president of Northern Consensus Movement of Nigeria. Welcome. I am Dapo Adigboyi. Let's get the answers. The wave of defection in Nigerian politics has become a recurring phenomenon, with elected officials frequently switching party allegiances, particularly from opposition parties to the ruling party, which in this case is the All Progressives Congress. And of course, joining me to discuss this right now on the program is Dr. Sam Amadi. He's the director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. He joins from Lagos. Thank you for your time, Dr. Amadi.
Thank you, and good evening.
All right, let me start first. Before we delve into the gale of defections we are seeing on the political space, Happy Workers' Day. Today is May Day, May 1st. And of course, today especially is a day especially set aside to recognize the efforts and to celebrate workers across structures. But let me first ask your opinion on the work structure, the work culture in Nigeria, and also the issue of remuneration. At the beginning of this program, I did say in our headlines that the NLC did speak on this matter, directly faulting the 70,000 minimum wage as insufficient. So, Doctor, what's your take?
Well, I think that clearly NLC is right about the fact that the economic challenges of the country biting and pressing. NLC and TUC fought very hard to get the minimum wage, but for reports, not much is being done. So some states, but even some workers report that perhaps they get 5,000 naira increment in their salary when they get a salary. So if you match the lack of increase, in fact, in many cases, decline in salaries, match it with rising cost of living, match it with inflation, energy costs going high, devaluation. The impact actually is that Nigerian workers on the whole earning far less than they earned 10 years ago. So the real income here is at basement level. I was in a meeting where somebody asked, I said, how many of us are still in middle class? And I said, look, we're not in middle class anywhere here. Many of us who are middle class are now belonging to, we now have the upper, middle, and lower poor. And so the working class have been, dealt a huge blow by the heavyweight, the perfect storm of devaluation. Of course, devaluation in a country that's import dependent basically means rising cost of living, increase in energy costs, electricity, telecom, fuel, PMS.
I'm sorry, I want to come in here. You gave a classification. Yeah. You said what we have right now is the upper, middle, and lower poor. You did not even say poor. You said lower poor. I mean, can you really break this down? Is it how terrible the situation is right now?
It is. I mean, look, we used to have the rich, the upper class, and the poor. And the middle class, the rich, the middle class, and the poor. And the middle class fairly represents, you can say, those who fall into what we call management cadre in public sector, management cadre in private sector, and some professionals, lawyers, accountants, journalists, and those who probably are self-employed, and they're making a lot of money. So if you benchmark what is generally based on purchase price parity, what could be the earning, the monthly or yearly earning of a middle-class person 5, 3, 4 years ago, 2 years ago, we discovered that if we had middle class, let's say 20% or 30% of the working poor or the working population as middle class. Today, it's basically maybe 2%, 3%. Why? Because anybody who's earning like 500,000, for example, in Nigeria today, is poor by every measure. I mean,
500,000 is not poor.
It's not going to pay for the housing, it's not going to pay for transport to walk back and forth. If they use their own car for fueling in a month, and then if they have one or two, let's say they have 3 children as a minimum, as an average, it's not going to take care of feeding and clothing. So that person is actually very poor. In the past, that person would be considered middle class. If it gets up to 700, 1 million, maybe he begins to enter into the upper class in terms of earning. So the reality is that we're all poor because there are those who are really very poor, those who are not still earning stock on minimum wage, and those who are earning less than minimum wage. They are what I call the lower poor. So the poor is not a bandwidth. You have A, B, C. You don't have the upper poor, those who are upmost middle class, moving to upper class, and now knocked down to the poverty class. And then those like us, and those who were just at the average of middle class, but now knocked down to the middle poor. And then those who are actually poor, and now become the very poor, because their poverty has now increased because of these policies and the fact that even if the federal government agreed with Labour to do, let's say, 130 million naira, 30,000 naira minimum wage, on average, it will still be, the danger is that the inflation and the devaluation eats up whatever increase. And in many cases, there are no increases in the real sense, even in the states. So the federal government says, we have an increase, we have a minimum wage, but the states, many of the states, are not implementing anything.
All right, I mean, before we just switch gears into the political discussion or conversation for today, still in the spirit of Workers' Day, just a quick one. What have we been getting wrong with our economic indices over the years? I know that there is always, demand for increase in minimum wage, but at the end of the day, it seems to outweigh the cost of living, right? So is the problem, or should the demand, or should the focus be on an increase in wage or a decrease in the cost of living? Where have we been getting it wrong?
I think on the average, the focus, what benefits the poor is actually reduction in cost of living. You know, the point of minimum wages, the economics is very controversial. Many scholars feel that minimum wage could lead to less employment and oftentimes may not serve those who are not working, you know, well. So the minimum wage triggers some degree of inflation and that impacts on those who are not working. But the real thing here is cost of living. And that's why in developed countries, I mean, you see inflation in the US and elsewhere, there's always a focus on reducing the cost of living, either through supply side, you know, for example, food inflation could be a result of lack of adequate production of food, arising from insecurity, arising from poor seasonal management, whatever it is, poor storage, transport, preservation of food. So these kinds of course, some hit from the global crisis in Ukraine, where import many of their grain, and so on and so forth. So that creates a sense in which the focus of government will now be one on the supply side. How do we improve food supply to reduce the inflationary pressure? Again, you see also governments try to intervene at the level of then increasing earning, not necessarily only through minimum wage, but also through some support. You see some payments that go to citizens in order to help them purchase, you know, essential goods and services, whether it's Medicare, healthcare, whether it's food. So those interventions help to reduce the impact of some of this inescapable inflationary pressure on the people. So if you ask me, increasing minimum wage per se, as we've seen maybe nationally with 70,000, let's assume the ministry has started paying it, we may not help anybody. So think about moving fuel price, PMS, an essential ingredient for transport and for those who drive themselves, and for other users, those who use generator, because of course the grid is not reliable. So if you increase that the way we have done, from over 500 to 1,000, 2,000 percentage at some point, if you look at the time series, you can't compensate that with additional 20,000 to workers. Maybe you can compensate that if you provide free transport. Some degree of impact, some of the working population can get that, but we don't have that. So it's really important to put an eye on how do we manage cost of living, and again, how do we expand access? The key thing here will be expanding consumption for the working poor and normal working people, because if inflation is high, but somehow the people are able to command essential services, get a country like Nigeria where there's nothing like social security in that serious sense, then that's double one. That complicates the welfare loss for citizens. And that's really what makes this situation very bad, is that government has no fiscal space to expand maybe income. And of course, income will drive up inflation, but at least this is inflation not driven by more spend. In the US, here we talk about if inflation is on, it means that government is spending a lot through budgeted or unbudgeted projects. But here, this inflation arising from one, scarcity, the fact that we import, the fact that our currency has been valued, and therefore creates this inflationary pressure. That's the crisis we are in now. And that's why I think that increasing minimum wage might not solve the problem.
All right, thank you so much, Dr. Sam Amadi. At this point, we'll go on a quick break. When we return, we'll be switching gears to talk about the gale of defection across political parties and the permutation ahead of, or political permutations ahead of 2027 election. And of course, joining the conversation, I'll be bringing in Dr. Auwal Abdullahi Aliyu, is the president of the Northern Consensus Movement of Nigeria. He will be part of this conversation. Stay with us. Into the crux of the matter, the gale of defection happening across political parties. I still have my guest with me, Dr. Sam Amadi, the director of the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought. I also have Dr. Auwal Abdullahi Aliyu as the president of the Northern Consensus Movement of Nigeria. Both men are joining virtually. Thank you for your time. Well, let me start with you, Dr. Aliyu. We are seeing politicians jump ship across parties. This is not new within the Nigerian space, but some will tell you that this, will I call it ship jumping right now, is pretty much unique in its own way. Do you think that is the case?
Well, yes, it is unique. Then, like you rightly said, it is not a new thing in Nigeria. This has been happening right from 1999 up till now. For every politician, the comfortability of politics, as far as Nigerian politics is concerned, is you have to belong to the ruling party. Whatever party is at the helm of affairs, everybody wants to belong there, everyone wants to be part of it, because if you look at it critically, the opposition is not really as strong as other Nigerians would have expected it to be. Ordinarily, opposition brings about sitting up at for the present leadership or the government in the center. But in the case of the present situation, every politician is trying to align himself, every politician is trying to identify himself with the ruling political party, because that is where you will belong, and then your states or your constituency or your local government will have the dividend of democracy from the national, the state down to the ladder. So if you look at it critically, to an extent, you may not want to blame the politicians, because politics is about interest. Now, the interests of the leadership or the elected representative, either as governors, as senators, as members House of Representatives, or member state assembly, local government chairman or councillors, the interest is how can we bring something to the table for our people? And then the politics, like I said earlier, it's about belonging. If you don't belong, then at the end of the day, your political party or the citizens, either in the state or your constituency, might not presumably get the real dividend of democracy as they are supposed to have. Therefore, it gives room for shifting from point A to point B, so as to align with the
Dr. Aliyu, talking about
in the center, and that will give the opportunity for the for whoever is the leader or at whatever level, the opportunity to bring, I repeat, to the table the dividend of democracy. Every governor wants to see his state vibrating. Every governor wants to see that he's delivering. Every governor wants to draw
Dr. Ali, you said, talking about shifting, Dr. Ali, if you can hear me, you said that the opposition is not as strong, and of course this could be a reason why we are seeing politicians, decamp, or so to speak. Why do you think that is? Did you get my question, Dr. Aliyu?
You're asking me?
Yes.
The politician. The issue is go ahead.
You said the opposition isn't as strong. Which of course is one of the reasons why they're decamping. And I'm asking just quickly, why do you think the opposition isn't strong?
What do I think that the opposition isn't strong?
Yes.
Well, opposition is about, you see, the ruling party and the opposition party. Where you will find the voice of the opposition is not strong, is not viable, is not hearable, is not presentable, and possibly because the government in the center or the government that the ruling party is performing possibly beyond the expectations of the opposition. Therefore, the opposition has nothing to come out and castigate, humiliate, bring down, or decampaign the government in the center. Possibly that was why the opposition is not strong, because possibly the government in the center has captured all that needed to be captured, that will not give the opposition the room to castigate it or to do a blame game or to say this is wrong or this is right. I'm possibly looking at the reality of the nation, what the country is all about, the economic situation, not only in Nigeria, possibly in the West Africa, in the African continent, and possibly across the globe, that made the opposition to find it to find no room to oppose or to castigate or to bring down, so as to say, bringing down the government in non-performance situation. Possibly the opposition has also find the government performing beyond their expectation. Possibly the opposition find the government doing beyond what they really what they needed to do, and therefore they have nothing to do. I guess that was why the opposition now are running into the ruling party. First, like I said, to bring dividend of democracy to their own state. Second, to identify with success. Possibly that was why.
To identify with success.
Every political party,
I think I'm going to pick up on that. I'm going to pick up on that. Dr. Aliyu, sorry if you would permit me to just interrupt you and bring in Dr. Sam Amadi into the conversation right now. I'd like to pick from what Dr. Aliyu did say. He said the reason for this defection could be as a result of the the ruling party performing, so well, and there is nothing the opposition can poke the ruling party or criticize them for. For that reason, why not just join the winning party and be identified with success? Is that the case with what we are seeing in Nigeria right now? As the APC does so well that every other party wants to identify with it.
Obviously not the case, but then again, let's even assume, like I said, and I'm going to interrogate that later, that the party has done very well. The idea of partisan politics is not that if the party does well, then you have to join it. If you look across the world, whether the US or elsewhere, parties that do well, they may win election again, but the opposition does not collapse until they have done well. So there's nothing charitable about it. So even if they have done well, let's assume they have delivered excellently. The opposition remains a big and continues to fight because the agenda, there must be first a different concept of the Nigerian state that opposition drives at. So the real opposition first has, that's what it's called opposition, opposed to what somebody is doing. Not necessarily on the result, but on the concept of governance, on the idea of what we want to achieve, against the personality and psychology of the people in power. So, but this is what's happening. Evidently, we're talking about cost of living, we're talking about inflation, we're talking about economic stagnation. Nigeria, if you look at the data, Nigeria and Ethiopia, for example, Ethiopia is perhaps one of the African poorest countries. We started in 1970, where the same place, we trained and left them, climbed up, the topmost under Obasanjo, the other Jonathan. 2015, we start going down and they start coming up. And today, if you see the graph, we just gave them poll, but now we have converged at GDP per capita. We are as poor as Ethiopia today. And we've lost about over $200 billion GDP under 2015. So the parties that did all these things cannot have said they've done extremely well. We are recording a huge number of extrajudicial killing every day, arising from kidnappers, attacks. Look at, I think it was last week. In fact, in a week, we've had over 100 persons killed in 2 or 3 states, or not accidents, not maybe people died because of, not even armed robbery, daylight terrorism. So insecurity, security aspect is not there. Our roads can't move easily on the roads. Bad roads, insecurity. So it all indicators, and that does not mean that the other parties will do better, but it's wrong to claim that this government has done so well. If partisans can claim, oh, we have tried, we've done well, we've improved this, we've got a bad situation, but nobody who has some item of sincerity ever claims, even President Tinubu has ever claimed that I've done so well, so bewitchingly well, so overwhelmingly well. Now, what's at play here is simple. 2 factors are playing out here clear. Before now, we used to have also this kind of the campaign under PDP, when PDP heads were. Some people in APC, in APP then, in other parties, look at the political prospect and they switch. But it's becoming an epidemic now for 2 reasons. One, of course, the political strategy of Mr. President himself. They say it's a master strategy. So maybe his masterliness comprised in knowing people, getting these politicians, using all kinds of dark arts to get them. Secondly, the masterliness also so because of the fact that these guys have the electoral system has been corrupted since 2015. It has been extremely damaged the credibility of the electoral process that Nigerian has say go to court, and go to court really means do whatever you like. We go there, we win by all means. As well as in 2013, a deliberate manipulation of election, INEC supervised the destruction of its own safeguards, which resulted in failure. And so the result, therefore, is very simple. That people have lost confidence in the electoral system, and the only way to continue in power is to line up to the party that controls that system.
Okay, Dr. Sam.
So this is desperation and a sense in which politicians are reading the fig leaf and concluding that, look, don't bother yourself, you just have to win election, and to win, you have to work with these guys.
Okay, Dr. Sam, still staying with you. There's also the issue here of the oppositions themselves not being, I call it, in cohesion, right? Many of these parties have internal crises. We've even seen some who decamped or defected, citing some of these reasons as the reason for their defection. I mean, we know what is going on within some of these parties. Some have factions. Some, are not able to sort of come to terms when it comes to their leadership structure. In terms of being put together as an opposition, as a formidable force, do you think the opposition is doing well when it comes to being strong, getting their internal politics right, and being positioned and prepared ahead of 2027? How much of their internal politics has affected their stand?
The opposition party is a wreck. It's almost a disgrace at this point. But the point, look, you see, like I said, look at a data, for example. It's not crisis that's driving data into APC. It's not because data is not under threat. Well, under P2B defeated them because of P2B, not because of the party. That's why they won everything after the presidential election, the damn ballot. So data was safe. Yes, they have a national crisis, but it didn't really look like it affected data. And so, yes, the party is weak. The opposition parties are weak everywhere. They are alleging that APC causes it. I don't think so. But the point is that weakness can affect borderline, what we call toss-up states, where parties are weak, where candidates feel unsafe, where there's a strong, if you like, sentiment for APC. So, for example, if you are somebody in let's say, let me give an example, Akwa Ibom, or not even Akwa Ibom, I mean, let's take, for example, states like Ogun State that APC won, or states in the north like Kaduna, we had with Buhari, and of course, the former governor. You would, if you're PDP or something else, you would feel constrained. Perhaps I should switch over because I'm going to likely lose. But those states, it makes sense. The parties win, but not states like Delta, where the party is strong, Okowa and his governor is in control. There's no internal crisis for PDP, and they could win the election if they are doing fairly well, as a governor is doing fairly well. So what is driving it might be at the level of personal crisis of the former governor, and at the level of some kind of fait accompli. We just have to connect to the federal. And now we say we need to connect to the federal government. Look, this government has not been very bad in manipulating or discriminating against hostile states. I've not seen the president constitutionally deprive opposition states of their entitlement. So you see, you can't say we are Delta or we are Imo, sorry, we are Abia. We didn't vote for Tinubu. Therefore, we are really losing our central entitlement. Of course, the president has discretions that he can use to reward and compensate his political loyalists.
Okay.
The deputy governor for Abia. So in Delta, Keyamo is holding a key ministry. You see other appointees, the president is doing, has close friends, associates in those places. So really, Delta State is not suffering the highest revenue state in this country.
All right, Dr. Sam.
Location.
All right, Dr. Sam.
Not heard about
Dr. Sam Amadi.
So it seems to me the parties are weak, but that's not the just reason for this migration. It's self-preservation and self-interested.
All right, Dr. Sam Amadi, thank you so much. You said that, this current administration, to a very large extent, has operated within the context of the law when it comes to relating and operations with states. But that, of course, would lead us to our next line of conversation, which is Rivers State and the politics happening there. Of course, we'll delve into this and more once we return. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television, and we are discussing the gale of defection that is happening, within the political space in Nigeria and its implication as regards the elections in 2027. I still have my guest with me, Dr. Sam Amadi, Director, the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, and also Dr. Auwal Abdullahi. Aliyu is the President of the Northern Consensus Movement of Nigeria. Thank you for your time and thank you for staying with me. Let me come to you, Dr. Auwal. With what we're seeing right now with this gale of defections, just quickly, I'd like you to address this. There are some that might, have speculated that maybe it's also machinations right now of the ruling party, which is not, of course, peculiar, where political parties, as a strategy, plant people to disrupt the parties or the opposition parties so that there's no cohesion, and at the end of the day, they can't really stand strong. I mean, these are just speculations anyway. But do you think that, that's a strategy in this case?
Like politics is a game. The world over, politics is a game. Either in Nigeria, anywhere in Africa, in America, or any other part of the world. Politics is a game, and the players of politics have to strategize to see that under whatever circumstances, they win their election and they have the government of the day. So if, for example, the present administration or the political party APC have planted people in any other political party, and now the same people they planted are aligning themselves into the APC, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. That is politics for you. That did not stop any other political party from equally planting their own stooge in the APC. That is politics for you. So I think politics is about strategy. Like I said, politics is a game of number. It's about winning. It's about leadership. It's about political power. Now, it's about being relevant from the lowest to from the bottom to the top. So if for any reason the political party APC have planted people in PDP, in NNPP, in Abuja, in Labour Party and any other party, there's nothing wrong with that. In SDP and any other party, there's nothing wrong with that. That is politics. It is about strategy. And you and I know, moving out of, generally speaking, so we are talking politics here, so we'll have to say it politically. If you look at it generally, the man at the helm of affairs, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is a strategic politician. When I say strategic politician, he has, from the days of his being a senator, to the days of him becoming a governor, to the time that he left, to when he created the ACN, to the time that there was a merger between the ACN, APC, NNPP, the new PDP, and a little of the ABGA coming together to form the APC and scuttle power from PDP, to the time that the power is being handed over to him from the previous APC government of Muhammadu Buhari to his present leadership, you see that Bola Ahmed Tinubu played a prominent role from the time he became a senator under his own political party to the level of when General Abacha took over, to the time they were being chased, till the time of Nadeko, to the time that he left the country, till when he returned back to country, he has been strategizing, he has been working, he has been building people, he has been bringing people close to him, he has been politically strategizing and realigning, and doing the needful politically, because he has planned to become Nigeria's president. From that time, he has a vision, he has a mission, he has a target, he has what he wants to achieve, and by the grace of God today, he has achieved it. And that is politics for you. And that is how a politician is supposed to think and act. Plan ahead, 20 years ahead of time. If you have any intention today, and you have it, you want to materialize it in the next 20 years, you start planning now towards achieving it. That was what President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did. And so if he had other people that he has planted in any other political party for him to be able to remain relevant, and when the time comes for him to make you the best use of them, there is absolutely not wrong with him doing that.
All right, Dr. Aliyu.
Politics, I repeat, politics is a game, and you, as a politician, you have to be strategic, you have to be administrative in your thinking, in your action.
Dr. Aliyu, your point has been made. I might just need to shift from you
there's
slightly.
nothing wrong in planting people.
If you can hear me, Dr. Aliyu, thank you. Thank you so much. Let me bring, of course, the floor right now. Let me invite you to the floor. That's Dr. Sam Amadi. Let's look at Rivers State and what is happening in Rivers State right now. If you want to react to some of the things Dr. Aliyu has said, please feel free. Rivers State right now, we know that there's a state of emergency. There's a sole administrator who even gave an address today, to residents of Rivers State. We also know that the current governor of the state has been suspended, and there are strong allegations that is frantically making efforts to make amends with his the immediate past governor of the state, talking about the FCT minister. Now, I would like you to speak particularly on this. We are talking about the opposition here. Fubara, of course, we know belongs to the People's Democratic Party, but I mean, from strong political speculations, it appears like he might just be between the deep blue sea and a hard place. Not really much of a vantage point. What is the implication of this for the state's politics?
Well, I think, let me start by saying that maybe my friend on the other side is right to talk about the virtues of President Tinubu. Maybe what I will object to, or at least, kind of ask him to rethink, is the immorality or amorality of politics, the way he has painted it. So it doesn't really matter if Tinubu undermines other parties by sowing discord, by manipulating, by twisting, or using EFCC to go after them. I think it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how politics is played, because President Tinubu, by the way, was with us during the struggle for democracy. So he emerged as largely as a democracy, maybe not an icon, but at least a pro-democracy activist, a strong one. And so his turnaround is not a turncoat in that sense, and it's not good for him. Look, power goes, 8 years is off if he's alive, just like every one of us. So, but I think that he has already lost that part of history that will record him as a man who fought for democracy. And why do I say so? The act of suspending the Rivers State governor, by the way, the Rivers State governor is not a paragon of any decency, dignity, or democracy. I mean, how Wike and himself connived. I remember that Wike made him sole candidate by imprison a PDP aspirant who then was rumored to be close to Atiku. The guy was, the day before the primary, was locked up and kept there until the election. So Wike used the same authoritarian strategy and logic to clear the deck for Fubara to emerge in a conspiratorial plot, largely against the people. And now that those who support Fubara or who are angry with the way he's been treated, not because of who he is, but because of what it represents. And so we would want to see those who win election being allowed the space to lead the people and be accountable, not to be accountable to another man. You can see how Tinubu himself tried to twist Fashola, but for Fashola's smart political thinking and the actions of Lagos traditional institutions to mediate, allow Fashola. So what Wike is doing perhaps is not too away from Tinubu's political rule book. Okay. Now back to, so now the administrator is there, and that's actually a constitutional error, because I think that yes, the president has the power to declare emergency, but those powers are not available where there's no real or imagined breakdown. Think about it. Not one single person has died in Rivers from crisis. Hundreds of people have died in Plateau, in Benue, in some far north, and that's not. So the declaration of emergency was self-serving, was political contraption, a contrivance for Tinubu to perhaps create what we will soon see when Fubara is pushed to join APC because he has to keep back his job. So those are some of the political manipulation that gives success, but undermine fundamentally democracy. So yes, he might be successful. Fubara may have started talking to the president as they reported, may have met Wike because he's now pushed to see that there's no way back to this office except some level of groveling and compromise. I have no problem with politicians. I don't even think he's, between Wike or fighting Wike is exemplary of virtue. I don't even think so. I even think some exemplifies some degree of bad character. But the point is this: we shouldn't. There must be a red line we cannot cross. An elected governor ought not to be dismissed because the president has political gains to gain from it, or because the president's men would gain. That's not the reason. So that was a fundamental breach of the Constitution. And I do hope that the Supreme Court will recover logic and courage to say, this is wrong. The powers in the Constitution were not ordained for this kind of political fight, no matter how nasty. They were ordained for things like war, emergency. Look at the Solar Administrator, for example. The guy has not sorted to any conflict, but has not to solve. He has not maintained land order, but there's no breach of land order. He is busy making appointments, governing like one lucky chief executive, appointing all kinds of people. Everything that Fubara did for himself is doing. He's carrying on, attending NEC. So basically, look, what Tinubu did was to supplant a democratic government, implant another person to govern exactly in the same situation of sanity, normality. That's not extraordinary. There are no emergency measures taken out since then. I've not heard that the Soil Administrator has closed down some restrictive areas, blocked some roads, arrested some people who are plotting to implode River State. This is just a huge joke. This is just the desperation pushed to outer limits. And we are supposed to sit here and energize the great strategy that Tinubu has. Let's not begrudge him. If somebody could weather all these conflicts, all this lack of clarity on name, lack of clarity on certificate, lack of clarity on school, lack of clarity on status with criminal allegations, and still become governor and still become president, that person has many great, many virtues in terms of ability to weather the storm, to ride roughshod.
All right,
but
Dr.
look,
Amadi.
we have to say, is it really what we want in the democracy? So my concern is about Wike and Fubara. I think they are both actually by greed and maybe vice. But the concern is he was elected, even though Wike shouldered him through the system, maybe rigging may have called, it doesn't matter. Having been proclaimed as winner of election, he shouldn't be removed because you need to have him out to negotiate the takeover of Rivers in 2027. So I maintain the point that there's no basis, no factual basis and no legal basis to declare state of emergency in Rivers State.
All right, Dr. Amadi, thank you so much. We'll go on another break. When we return, we'll be looking strictly into 2027. The political permutations already happening. What is the position of the North, for instance? And this talks about a coalition. Stay with us. Many thanks for staying with us. It's still Politics HQ on News Central Television. Let me get back to my guest, but this time I'll be coming to you, Dr. Aliyu. Dr. Aliyu, quickly before we go, 30 seconds. You are from the northern part of the country. Ahead of 2027, I mean, what do you think will be the position of the North? And I mean, there's also this talks about a mega coalition, being put in force ahead to challenge the ruling party. What's your take?
The truth is, politics, I repeat, is a game of numbers. It's about acceptability. It's about strategy. So therefore, the position of the North, actually, as at this moment, there's no single person that can come out and tell you this is the position of the North, because there are different groups and different voices that speak from the North. Unfortunately for us in the North, we do not have one single voice that can speak, and once that voice speaks, it's the entire Northern Nigeria that speaks. That is the major challenge that Northerners have been having. And we've been working, most especially under my organization, we've been working for almost 10 years now to be able to bring North together to speak with one voice. And that was how we were able to grow our organization from 1 to present 568, as I speak to you, registered associations from 19 northern states and Northerners, Association of Northerners in the 17 southern states. But even at that, we cannot just hit our chest and say, this is the position of North. But then you have different opinion. If you listen to what the Aliyu Consultative Forum is saying, which, yes, to an extent is true, the North will decide who becomes Nigeria's president in 2027. Yes, they say so technically in terms of population and the number of voters or the number of votes that not usually produced when it comes to presidential election. So it is true, North will be the deciding factor of who becomes the next president in 2027. But that is not also to say that it is the ACF or the Northern Elders Forum or any other organization individually that will now decide that this is where to go. That is where the challenge is. And we have not gotten to that level as I speak to you, unless and until before the 2027, if this whole organization will come together and agree to speak with one voice, and even at that, they have to go around, look and crannies of how to convince the actual voters of who they should vote for and why. Don't forget, I told you President Bola Tinubu is a political strategist, and naturally he will strategize toward ensuring that he wins the election.
All right.
Meanwhile, he has northern representatives in his government, and those northern representatives are there to equally protect the interests of the government as well as the interests of the man that appoint them into the offices they are occupying, and at the same time protect. It is expected that we will protect the interest of North.
Okay, just quickly.
So then, it is a very
sorry, Dr. Aliyu, quickly, because we really are pressed for time. We really are pressed for time. Just quickly, I mean, you've been given a bit of glowing remarks about the president, but do you think he has done so well for the North to earn their votes in 2027? In just 1 minute,
well,
30 seconds.
The biblical truth is, the biblical truth is that Northerners are expecting more than what they are having under the present administration of President Bola Tinubu. There is high expectation, and the truth is the expectation has not really been reached. But that is also not to say that the man has not tried in trying to deliver the dividends of democracy. Okay. But the truth of the matter is the expectation of Northerners under the present administration has not been reached, but we still have 2 years ahead of time. Possibly before that time, the man may work towards ensuring that he has fulfill the promises or expectations.
All right, thank you, Dr. Aliyu. I'm sorry we are really working with time.
Economy, education, healthcare, and other aspects of governance.
Thank you. Let me direct the question to Dr. Sam Amadi. What do you think will be the position of the North? And this talks about a coalition. Quickly, sir.
Like you said, is a decisive factor to a large extent, and the North knows this interest. First, let me put it this way. The North brought Tinubu. If you look at the election, P2B scored about 65% in the South, Tinubu about 23. In fact, the ratio in which P2B defeated Tinubu in the South is the same ratio that Tinubu, percentage-wise, not numbers, Tinubu defeated P2B in the North. So in the South, Tinubu is not a popular candidate. He lost in Lagos, lost on Oshoto Atiku, lost in all the South is massively, 89% average, lost a major part of South-South, and of course, actually could have lost Rivers. Let's not even talk about the fact that many people believe with the results we saw and the mutilation that he lost Rivers. So he is not going to prove markedly if Obi is there. So his path to victory still lies with the North. But the question then is, how strong is this Northern regrouping in terms of a sense of hurt injury? I'm not a Northerner, but all I can say is that we don't expect that he's going to do that well. And that's why perhaps he's putting together a certain coalition to see if he can take up all those places that PDP took, like a place like Rivers that PDP is strong, a place like maybe Akwa Ibom, a place like Delta that Obi took. So if he gets that, he compensates for an obvious areas he will lose, especially if there's a Northern candidate on that ticket. So the Northern crisis, the Northern injury will crystallize. I don't really have too much confidence in their politicians because they are corrupt. And if Tinubu knows how to play the politics of seduction, inducement, he could have his way. By the way, his primary, he bought it to an extent with these Northern governors who came around and supported him. So he could still do it again. Now, the coalition crisis is simple. The coalition has to find a way to deal with Atiku and Peter Obi in a way that, look, the Peter constituency is like zero sum. There's something they want, or they may not turn out in support of whoever. The Atiku factor, Atiku is zero sum. Just for the president, I don't believe that Atiku will work very hard for another person to be president. But if he does, if there's a turnaround in Atiku's aspect, sentiment and temperament towards the fight to remove Tinubu, if Atiku can be that generous and perhaps play a different role, or if Peter Obi can also, his group can also make that shift, they might see a real coalition that might defeat the president handily. Now, the other dark horse, the horizon, is President Goodluck Jonathan. Some people have argued
Dr. Sam Amadi,
perhaps the best Northern option. But let's see how it plays.
Thank you so much, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure having you on the program tonight. Dr. Sam Amadi is the director for the Abuja School of Social and Political Thought, and also Dr. Auwal Abdullahi Aliyu, president of the Northern Consensus Movement of Nigeria. Gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for having us.
All right. At this point, this is where we drop the curtains. In case you missed out, you can actually catch up on our YouTube platform. That's at News Central TV. We're also live on GoTV channel 23 now. You can watch us there. You can also choose to follow us across social media. The handle is right there on your screen. You can choose to follow me personally too at Dakbo at Digboye.